I don't know too many businesses that are doing at least $2 million or more per year that don't run paid ads. If you're in business, there are three types of traffic that you must have in order to grow. And I'm going to start with the most impactful one and the least controllable one as well. And that is word of mouth. So word of mouth is the first type of traffic. And this is what people are saying about you. And this is the strongest form of traffic because it's what people are saying about you, not what you are saying about you. Because typically in advertising and other paid forms of traffic, you're talking about you. And but when you look at word of mouth, this is other people talking about you. And so the reason this is so powerful is because when other people are talking about you, it's proof. And when you're talking about yourself, it's bragging. And I actually stole, that's a quote from a previous mentor of mine, Jeffrey Gitomer. And he always said that. He said, Josh, if you're talking about you, it's bragging. If someone else is talking about you, it's proof. And that's why this is the most powerful form of traffic, because you have to think about it. How many times have you purchased or used products because a friend, a family, a spouse, or someone that you know recommended that product? I'll give you a really good example. So I am really big into tracking my food, tracking my macros, and I'm really big into CrossFit. If you know me, I don't want to talk about CrossFit because it's super cliche, but at CrossFit, I have a lot of friends that also do the same thing. And probably 6 months ago, they introduced me to this amazing brand and product called Kodiak Cakes. If you've never tried Kodiak Cakes, you have to try them. They're amazing. They're like protein. It's protein mix for pancakes. It's kind of like pancakes, waffles. They have oatmeal. They have things like that. And I'll tell you what. They are incredible. And since they first introduced me, every single week for the last 6 months, that has been on our grocery buy list. I mean, I've probably purchased $800 in Kodiak Cake Mix in the last 6 months, simply because I had multiple people in the morning at one of my classes tell me you have to have Kodiak Cakes if you're tracking your macros. It's a great source of definitely carbs, but then also protein as well, not to mention they are incredibly delicious. And so that's why word of mouth is the first type of traffic. It's the strongest, but the downside of it is it's the least predictable because you can't control it. You can only influence word of mouth. You can influence how much people talk about you, maybe try to nudge people to talk about you. Maybe you're sending an email and saying, hey, why don't you refer us to your friends? But you can't control it. It's not very controllable, but it's influenceable, if that's an actual word. But there's something that you do need to consider when it comes to this. And this is why this is the first type of traffic to talk about, because in order for this to even work, you have to have good products. Meaning if your product sucks, you're going to really struggle with generating word of mouth, because marketing can't fix bad products. It can't fix poor packaging. It can't fix terrible customer experience. You can do that. So you can influence that. And so the reason I want to talk about this first is because this is really, really baseline. Make sure your products are good. Make sure your packaging is good. Make sure that your communication on shipping and the different key points throughout the experience with your customers is good. And if you could do that, you're going to start harnessing the power of word of mouth. So that's the first type of traffic. The second type of traffic is organic. And I consider organic anything like social media, SEO, podcasts or videos like you might be watching or listening right now, email marketing, etc. These are things that you can also influence. You can't control, but you can influence decisions. You can influence that traffic by posting more and by taking actions on those networks. But it's not very predictable. So for example, you could post 10 times per day on Instagram, but if you only have 100 followers, your results are going to be massively diminished. And I'll give you an example. So we get 10 to 15,000, or at this point in time, we get like 10 to 15,000 organic website visitors to our website just through our blog. We create a lot of blog content and content on our website, so the SEO kicks in, and we get 10 to 15,000 visitors per month. But we can't control how many people search for a specific topic or a specific keyword that our blogs that we've created are going to draw in. We can influence it by creating more content, but we can't necessarily control it. Like I can't look at a set of 5 blogs and say, ooh, this blog is doing really, really well based on this topic, the keywords, and whatever the SEO things that our team did to it. So why don't we go ahead and 10x this blog? You can't do it. You can influence and create more blogs similar to that, but you can't control search volume. You can't control traffic from from search engines because it's organic. And so organic is similar to word of mouth. It can't be controlled, but it can be influenced. But the good thing about organic, this doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. The good thing about organic is that it's kind of like digging a well. It takes a lot of work, like a good deal of work. You got to dig and dig and dig and dig, and maybe you dig and you didn't strike water. And then you go to another spot and you dig and dig and dig and dig, and it's a lot of work. But eventually, when you strike water, you will create a consistent flow of traffic. And so that's kind of how I think of organic and word of mouth, kind of like digging a well. It's a lot more work. The resource lever, like if I'm pulling two levers and you have impact and you have resource, you're going to pull a lot of resource in order to start to get that impact. But over time, that impact will just get stronger and stronger and stronger. So that's the second type of traffic. And the third type of traffic is paid traffic. And to be honest, this is my favorite type of traffic because it is the most predictable. And when I think of business, I want predictable. I want to know what my revenue forecast will look like for next week, next month, next quarter, next year. I want to predictably know, hey, if we do X, it will produce Y. And paid traffic comes in a lot of different forms. It could be Facebook ads, YouTube ads, Google, programmatic ads, Pinterest ads. But what it is simply spending dollars to get your advertisements in front of a specific audience. That's what paid traffic is. The one thing I've learned with paid traffic, and there's a lot of hesitancy. Most people get through the first type because they're like, hey, my products are good. I believe in this. I'm getting reviews and I put my heart and soul into this. And so word of mouth, that's the traffic that I start to get because I care so much. I'm so hands-on. Organic is the second one that most people go to. They start getting all these social media networks. They start investing all this time into these organic strategies, but they stop at paid traffic. Because why would I pay for traffic when I can get it for free on Instagram or for free on whatever that organic platform is? Well, I don't know too many businesses that are doing at least 2 million or more per year that don't run paid ads. I'm sure they exist, but that is the minority, especially because the barrier to running paid ads and doing so profitably is not very high. And later in this episode, I'm going to talk through what that looks like and how you can make ads work for you and the types of campaigns you need. But the reality is, if you invest some time, you can harness the power of paid advertising. You just have to overcome that fear. And even in highly restricted fields like CBD or firearms, there are forms of paid advertising that work. Too many people throw up their hands and say, hey, paid traffic doesn't work for me, or paid advertising, I'm not going to spend money to acquire customers, and so it's not for me, I'm going to do organic. And those are the companies that remain small. They only grow so big or at so much of a pace, and they can only grow so predictably because they aren't leveraging that. But again, even companies in the CBD, the firearms, more restricted fields can run forms of paid advertising like programmatic ads. And because those forms do exist, you may need to focus on list building so that way you can nurture and educate your audience via email and not have to worry about all kinds of ad rejections and ad approvals and going through regulation with Facebook and Google who really don't like firearms. You might have to focus more on a lead gen strategy, but the fact remains you can leverage paid ads in order to grow your email list so that you can then generate more sales on the back end. So one thing with ads is that if you're going to run ads, it's not a matter of if it will work. It's a matter of what that looks like for your business and when it's going to happen. So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of what, because every business is different. Every industry is different. They have different audience, different buying cycles. And it's not a matter of if it's going to work, because it will. The question is, what will that look like for you? And when will that actually happen? And there are different variables in that, like how much you're spending is going to impact how quickly you figure it out, and how much time you invest in your paid ad traffic efforts is going to determine how quickly you figure that out. But it's really a matter of what it looks like and when that actually happens. Because once you've established baseline numbers, you're going to have a good idea of what it's going to take to acquire your revenue goals. That's the beauty of paid advertising. That once you understand your baseline numbers, once you get your feet wet, and once you really get into it, you start to realize, oh my goodness, the power of this is really, really good. And you'll notice when I run ads, I generate more revenue, even if 100% of it can't be tracked or attributed. And I talk about attribution and a ton of other things, so I'm not going to dive into that right here and now. But even when you can't track 100%, you will notice when you spend money on ads, you will make more money because of that. And the good thing about ads is you can acquire new customers very predictably. But on top of new customers, what we often see is we see a massive overlap from paid to organic. And that's another great thing. So when someone, for example, if somebody clicks on one of your ads and then they follow you on social media or they subscribe to your email list, you can nurture them. You start to get in front of them through your organic efforts. And then what happens is they start to buy down the line, which can't be attributed back to ads, but the ads created this trickle-long effect. And I see this happen all the time. So while I view organic traffic like a well that you have to put a lot more time and effort into in order to strike water, I view paid traffic like a faucet. It's either on or it's off, because as soon as you stop paying Facebook or Mother Google or whatever that platform is, your traffic stops flowing.